Welcome to Intro to AI by App Dev League. This is the first video in our AI series where we will be teaching you guys about AI and how to code it. I'm your teacher for this series, and I'm a 10th grader at Saratoga High School, and my main coding skills are AI and web dev. Before we get started, a quick overview of what we will be doing in this lesson is what are AI and ML, the types of ML models, how we can implement these, AI with data, coding ML, evaluating models, and some more resources for you guys to learn more. What is AI? AI is human intelligence shown in machines, and examples that you know of are Google and Siri assistants or self-driving cars. However, these are much larger scale examples, and we can create smaller scale models with code. What is ML? ML is the study of algorithms which improve from experience, specifically training on data. It is the most common application of AI, and everything we'll be doing in this series will be considered ML. So here are the types of ML models. What is an ML model? An ML model predicts outputs based on the input data, and there are a bunch of different models that will be better for different tasks. And all these models are trained on data and tested with data they have not been trained with, nor have they seen yet. So the first basic model is linear regression. Linear regression is the most basic AI model and uses a line of best fit to predict the output. The output is a y variable, and the inputs are the x variable in the equation y equals mx plus b. An example of the use of linear regression would be predicting the price of a house based on certain characteristics like floors, bedrooms, and more. The next basic model is logistic regression. Logistic regression is also a pretty basic AI model, however, the math behind it is more complex than linear regression. What this model does is split up the data into multiple groups and uses a logistic function to make predictions. Because the model splits the data into groups, this model can only be used for classification problems. Classification problems would be something like predicting whether or not someone has a chance of developing heart disease, either yes or no, based on certain medical factors. And lastly, the last basic model we'll be going over is a decision tree. A decision tree uses different criteria to predict the final output based on whether or not those criteria are yes or no. So if we look at the image here, we're trying to predict if we should play tennis or not, based on the outlook, humidity, and wind. And whether or not these are yes or no, we can make a final prediction of whether we should play tennis or not. There are many other types of models, like SVMs and random forests. However, they use the same three basic principles that we just went over: linear regression, logistic regression, and decision trees. So what about the more complex models, like neural networks? The structure of a neural network is much more complex than regression and decision tree because it is more than just simple math. It requires more data, however, is able to make much more precise predictions and can be used for more complex problems like image classification. So in the image here, we're able to predict whether or not the picture would be a dog or a cat using a neural network. How can we implement ML? All AI systems need data to train with, and this could be similar to yourself and your schoolwork. The more schoolwork you do, the better you get at solving them, just like with AI models. The more data you feed them, the better they get at predicting. How can we code ML? There are a couple of languages used for ML, and the most common one is Python, and the reason is because there are many libraries written specifically for Python. You can also use other languages like JavaScript and R, but we will be using Python and the sklearn library for the next video with linear regression. There are many ways to evaluate models, and the four main ones are accuracy, AUC, precision, and recall. You're going to be using different ones based on your task, and if you're going to be using a classification problem, like the heart disease predictions we talked about earlier, you would be using accuracy. Now, let's review all of the content. AI is human intelligence shown in machinery, and ML is the most common application of AI. There are many different types of models, and some are more basic and some are more complex. Linear regression uses the line y equals mx plus b to make predictions, and logistic regression splits the data into groups and uses a logistic function to make predictions. However, remember, because the data is being split into groups, you can only use logistic regression for classification problems. Decision trees look at whether criteria give a yes or no value and are able to get a final prediction based on that. Neural networks are more complex, however, need more data and can make more precise predictions. And we are going to be coding ML with Python and the sklearn and Keras libraries in the future. Here are some more resources for you guys to learn more, which will be in the description, and thank you for listening.